There we are live. Excellent. Good evening, one and all. Good evening, and welcome to Talking Songs with me, Rowland Jones. And what have we been up to? What's the world been up to? Anything exciting? No, nothing to report. Oh dear me. There you go. Every day's the same, isn't it? I keep thinking every day's Saturday, which is a bit unnerving. But apart from that, we're ploughing on regardless. And tonight I have with me Mr. Chris Tavener. And I mean, we'll have to cut it short at some point, otherwise we may still be here at breakfast time tomorrow. So, but I'm really looking forward to having a chat with the guy again. And but I'm going to kick off and play you an tune. This is something I wrote. I wrote this for my wife. This is called How I Feel. Walking by the water, walking hand in hand, makes me feel so very good. I just can't understand how doing nothing special and doing nothing at all can make me smile, can make me laugh. That's how I feel. That's how good I feel. That's how I feel. That's how good I feel. Fine food and the best champagne, or just watching TV. Exotic place or right at home, it all feels good to me. You make up the rest of me, will you? I feel complete. Never ever realize the life could be so sweet, and that's how I feel. That's how good I feel. That's how I feel. That's how good I feel. Minutes last forever, days disappear overnight. The year feels like nothing, but everything feels right. You bring out the best in me, with you I am complete. Never ever realize the life could be so sweet, that's how I feel. That's how good I feel. That's how I feel. That's how good I feel. That's for Leslie. Yeah, and that was, I don't know, I'm going to ask Chris this in a minute. I can sometimes remember where I had the idea for a song, and that was, because it's got the line in it, a year's just seems like nothing, and we'd been married just over a year, and we'd moved to Italy, and it was a Sunday lunchtime, and we'd gone for a walk by the lake. How about that then? Walking by the water, walking hand in hand. Yes, it was lovely. And I shouldn't be talking. It was good. It was. Do you remember nice weather? Do you remember that when those, those warm rays and things that make you cheerful in the mornings? Yeah, it was like that. But today we don't have any nice weather, but we do have definitely a shining light, Mr. Chris Tavener.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Nice to see you, Rowland. Yeah, I'm doing very well. That was a lovely tribute to
thank
Leslie.
you.
That was
Thank
really,
you.
really nice. Enjoyed that a lot.
I do like a little bit of bossa nova every now and then. I think it's I don't know. I think bossa nova for me is one of those things that is. I mean, it was created on guitar.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
it's got that.
all the Carlos Jobim stuff. You know, Ipanema and all those things. They've all got that sort of rocking bass thing in them, and it's happy music.
It is, yeah, and I love anything with that sort of bass groove that just kind of really moves the music along.
Yeah.
I'd love to write a bossa nova myself now. You might have inspired me.
Oh, good. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Right then. Well, that's a good point to start. What inspires you?
Broad question. I think, yeah, but a good one. All sorts really, but I think mostly I would like to write satirical songs that are not so much political, although there may be political subtext sometimes, but just about observing people. It's society really that inspires me, and the way that people react to situations or things that they say, that kind of thing. So it's often things that I'll hear people say that will inspire me really. A way of thinking that some people have that I love to take the mickey out of really sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, the thing for me, I was trying to think of anybody else around today who is doing that sort of material, and off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody, to be honest. I don't know about you. Where you
Yeah, I mean, I've been pointed in the direction of a lot of people who are similar to me. Like, I mean, much like yourself, you get compared to other artists when you play on stage, don't you? So, yeah, there's a bunch of kind of satirical sort of artists like Matt Maltese and Father John Misty and people like that who are sort of emerging artists. And then I'm quite inspired by just lyricists who have a really dry sort of sense of humour, like Courtney Barnett, who's an Australian sort of rock punk artist. She's been around for a few years. Really, really good. Sort of bit grungy as well, Kurt Cobainish, but really dry lyrics. She's got some good songs that are always quite punny. Avant Gardener is one that's a good one.
You'll have to send me all those names you just said and give me something to
yes,
listen to in the morning when I'm walking. So that's
absolutely,
because it struck me. I mean, it must be quite difficult at the moment because I've talked to a lot of people about this. It's quite interesting at the time in society where we have more means of contacting and being in touch with other people. We've got bugger all to talk about, apart from the COVID virus.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's extremely true. It's so hard to promote anything music-based in the COVID era because that's all anybody wants to, or that's the only thing people tend to hear about, and they filter out anything else. But yeah, I was talking about this with somebody else as well. It feels very much like a post-satire era, and that term is bandied about a lot at the minute. But it's kind of true. Yeah, it's just, I suppose, it's kind of like what is fact and what is fiction sort of thing. If you're going to satirize something, it becomes truth a year later. So it's like all this brass eye stuff that all this classic sort of comedy things that people are making references to is now sort of come true in some sense, that reality imitating fiction.
Yeah, well, I've heard a lot of comics saying this.
Yeah.
You know, the sort of Joe Brands and of the world, and saying the very same thing, because you would have thought at the moment that the climate is really ripe for a lot of serious piss taking. But as somebody pointed out, I think it was Shappy was saying that the thing is, it is so ridiculous that there's no way you can take the mick out of it because it's already too ridiculous for words anyway. You know, it's almost like
it feels that way.
It's self-satirizing, if that's a word. You know, nobody could have written the gag that Trump has claimed $70,000 expenses for his hair.
No, you really would. If you'd seen that written down and thought it said, "Is this true or is this false?" then you'd probably have put false. Or would you though? Because he's done so many things that are just completely wild.
The other thing is,
there's no way of telling anymore.
Alongside that figure, in the article I was reading today, there was also a figure that had been included for tax purposes for his wife's I nearly said Ivana.
His wife's hair.
His wife's hair, yeah, for her hairstyle. And I think it was less than the bill for him.
Really?
It certainly was not much bigger. I can't remember if they were both around the sort of $70,000.
I mean, I believe that, to be honest. I suppose his requires a bit more maintenance. I don't know. That's a striking blonde look, isn't it? It's dazzling.
Do you think maybe a lot of that expense is actually sending people after it when it blows off?
Yeah, exactly. He's got a team of people.
Yeah, it's recovery costs.
Yeah, exactly. And someone with another one quickly to throw over his head when no one's looking.
So what you've got is a helicopter pilot and a frisbee throwing expert.
Yeah.
And they work in team. And as soon as a gust of wind, the helicopter goes after it, and the other guy drops it on his head.
That would cost you a lot of money.
Job there for somebody. Go for it.
Absolutely. Team Trump.
So, talking about current affairs and things, you're going to sing us a song now, and I think you're going to sing the one that you sang to me yesterday. That sounds like you were serenading me, doesn't it? No, the song you sang yesterday for the sound check, which I really liked. So, tell us a bit about it.
Sure, yeah. I think this is the right time to play this one. It's quite a topical one. This is something that I wrote during the very start of UK lockdown when I started to realise, as many people did, that they were noticing sort of self-proclaimed experts on their news feeds, sort of people who claimed to know more than they actually did about the virus. And because there were a lot of different opinions flying around. And this song's about that. It's called... Folks I Know. Matt Hancock was missing from office, and we were missing updates from Boris. We need it all explained to us. We need someone that we can trust. Well, I found them. Cause it seems that Bill on Facebook isn't just your average plumber. He's got the secret intel, will be sorted by the summer. And Janine, who posts stuff when she's pissed, is now a trained virologist. It's lucky that I know the folks I know. My old high school friend who used to share his film reviews from Netflix is now a local expert on the Chinese healthcare metrics. And I didn't know my neighbor knew the news before the papers. Oh, it's lucky that I know the folks I know. Well, don't go out and don't watch the news. The WHO have forecast summertime blues. We need to feel we're guided while we're spending time divided. But don't worry, 'cause I've heard that John on Twitter is the saviour of the hour. He said that he'd run rings around whichever bloke's in power. And Denise, who loves a BuzzFeed quiz, is now a UN scientist. It's lucky that I know the folks I know. So if you need informants on corruption in Westminster, then I would trust in Sasha, who just posts it on her Insta. Course she's also now a doctor, analyst and mortgage lawyer. Oh, it's lucky that I know the folks I know. Oh, it's lucky that I know the folks I know. Oh, it's lucky that I know the folks I know.
Brilliant. Absolutely. I love that.
Thank you very much.
What's the other one about your other rhyme with pissed? She's an analyst, was it?
Yeah, virologist, I think.
Virologist.
Yeah.
Great. Great.
Thank you.
That's the other thing I've always thought about your songs is that you... I don't write songs like you do, but I'm like you in the sense that I like playing with words.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
It strikes me that you must spend a lot of time on your lyrics, because I mean that's it's a bit obvious thing to say really, but I suspect, do you actually find that they evolve as you perform the songs, or are they very much how you wrote them in the first place?
Yeah, I do find that certain with certain songs more than others. Really, I didn't obviously have the opportunity to play that live as often as I could have given lockdown. But like you were saying, I love just messing around with finding that nice little rhyme, and that bit of wordplay that really tickles me, I guess, and makes me laugh or smile. But yeah, sometimes when I'm playing songs live, they do evolve gradually. There's certain songs that have changed from the recorded form to how they're played live now, musically and lyrically. And it's sort of bizarre now to listen back to some of the original ones and think, oh yeah, I sometimes may change it for the better, and sometimes I think, oh yeah, that was how it was originally. Oh, okay, maybe I should go back to that. I don't know. Yeah, so certainly with this kind of stuff, and also when I'm performing live, when I'm doing comedy clubs as well, that I sometimes do, and so a lot of other live gigs, I'll have to chuck in little asides between lines, sort of bits of spoken word bits, just to sort of add to the joke, especially for people who've heard it before, and then you've got something new for them to hear, really.
Because I think that's the other thing about humour in songs, which makes it very difficult for you, in the sense that you can hear let's say in inverted commas, you can hear a beautiful song, and you can enjoy it, and when you hear it again, you enjoy it. Yeah. If it's a funny song, the first time round you get the gag, the second time round you remember the gag.
Yeah.
And there's a sort of decreasing returns to it, I would have thought.
No, that's absolutely true. Yeah, I mean, there's some kind of rule in comedy, I think, where if you you do the first time, obviously the first time, the second time is experiencing that gag again. By the third time, you need to change it. And I don't know how true that is of musical comedy, because you do have the music that is nice to be reminded of, and obviously that carries it forward a little bit. But yeah, it's difficult to keep it fresh, and that's why I love to chuck in little changes, like you were saying, along the way, to just kind of make it a little bit different every time. But one thing that a lot of people that come to my gigs say to me is that they love watching other people's reactions when they've heard a song before. They love looking around the room and seeing how other people are going to react. If they've brought their friends or their family, and they go, oh yeah, listen to this one, because they love anticipating the joke. And that's something that I relate to a little bit, because I'll watch stand-up that I've seen before, mainly so that I can show it to friends and kind of relive it a little bit. So there is life in songs, certainly comedy music songs.
I've never thought of that before, but I think you're right. I know that if I'm not a big fan of like comedy films, because they're invariably not very funny in my experience, but I do watch, there are certain things I do like watching, stand-up routine, and if there's somebody doing a routine which I've heard before, I find myself saying to Leslie, oh, this is brilliant, have a listen to this, so she's queued up ready to hear it, because I listen quite a lot of stuff on Dry Bar. Do you know Dry Bar on YouTube?
Don't know Dry Bar, no.
There's some good stuff on there.
Is it a podcast or?
It's from a. I don't think it goes out as a podcast. It's just on YouTube as an available thingy.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what
thingy that's out there.
Yeah, it's a thingy that's out there. I don't know.
Cool.
Well, it's on YouTube anyway, but it's good. And I know there was one thing I particularly liked, and I remember when I played it to Leslie, I didn't just say, "Look, have a listen to this. It's good." I actually kind of stood over it and went, "This is spot on,"
good. Listen to every word. And that's part of the enjoyment as well, isn't it? Like you're saying about comedy films, they can be hit and miss, but the ones that stand out to me are the ones that are timeless and you can watch again and again. Like and often, to me anyway, it's the sort of satirical ones that have that biting sort of topical edge to them, and they seem cutting edge, but there's something always very true about them.
You
which
mentioned
makes
Brass
them
Eye
timeless.
before.
Yeah.
That
was
Chris,
very. Go on.
Chris, what's his name?
It was Chris. What's his name? That's Chris Morris.
Yes. Yeah. Because I loved his The Day to Day.
Yeah.
I thought that, and in fact, I was telling, just as an example, I was telling Leslie about there was a character on it called Calately Sisters, who was the woman who did the financial report.
Yeah.
And she just sat and read utter gibberish. And she's reading this gibberish, and she's got a slight tick in a left eye at the same time.
Excellent.
And it's completely meaningless, but there's also the sort of ticker tape running underneath, which is equally nonsensical, and it's hysterical. And I remember saying, you've got to watch this. But
it's probably how people listening to the financial news hear that stuff, So that's just perfect parody, I guess.
Well, it is, yeah. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day because I was listening. I don't know why I bother listening to the news on Radio 4 these days, because I end up shouting at it, which is not good. I think it was Jeremy Hardy who said that his early life militancy, by the time he was middle-aged, had devolved into the point where all he did was shout bastards at the BBC News on occasions. But there was something on, and it was this thing about, and this guy said, we need to have a long-term strategy to get us through the next month or two. I'm thinking, whoa, cut.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous, yeah.
Hypocritical in one sentence, yeah. That sounds...
I mean, it's totally self-contradicting, and it's just unbelievable. So, do you want to do another song? And then I've got some questions on you about your videos.
Yeah, let's do another song then, yeah. So this is another one that I feel has it's been quite relevant during the past few months. I wrote a song about men's mental health about a year ago now, and came out with a documentary about about the subject, and the film's done extremely well. It's a feature film.
Was that the one we started shooting a video of in town?
That was, in fact, yes, that was. And I'm so sorry that that video got canned, Rowland. After your efforts to come down and shout "bottle it up" at me for many times. You can reimagine Rowland shouting "bottle it up" at me while I sing this song, because
I'd forgotten all about it until you started talking about it. I thought,
yeah, I know, exactly. Well, I'm glad it didn't scar you, that you didn't end up in that video or anything like that. But yeah, we did eventually film a video for it after some failed attempts to, nothing to do with your incredible acting, of course. But,
well, I'm not very good at representing a crowd when there's just me.
No,
really.
Exactly.
We moved around a lot, but it wasn't quite sufficient, really. Was
Not quite the same, really, was it? Yeah, we were after a crowd, and we got about 8 people, which wasn't great. We managed to.
We were 4 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and we managed to pull a couple from Market Street as well.
Yes,
just
I remember
completely
that.
on the day. That was
fun times.
Fun times, indeed. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, so this is a song, about men's mental health. This one's called "Bottle It Up." As a child, I was a crier on a moaning myrtle scale. Mufasa's death was a downer. Free Willy made me wail. My daddy was my hero then. He'd light my way. He'd dry my baby eyes, and then he'd say, "You got to bottle it up, son. You got to bottle it up, son. Don't ever show you're hurt or scared. Shut up, kid, no one cares. You've got to bottle it up, son. If you carry on like this, son, you'll be disowned, you'll die alone. Move on, be strong, man up." Ha! What a dad. That mantra manifested in the manner of a man, with all the sugar sweetness of a dried up bowl of bran. When life would throw a punch at me, I'd punch it back. Whenever I feel weak, when I attack. Oh, because I bottle it up, Jack. It's all water off a duck's back. You'll never find out how I feel. This duck is made of steel. Because I bottle it up, Jack, you'll find that a hard nut won't crack. I feel alright, now I scream inside. Move on, be strong, man up. 'cause I bottle it up, man. Yeah, 'cause I bottle it up, man. Oh, you'll never find me in a slump. I'm as happy as Melania Trump. Because I bottle it up, man. Yeah, 'cause I bottle it up, man. Don't ask what's wrong, just sing along. Move on, be strong, man up. Move on, be strong, man up. Move on, be strong, man up. Move on, be strong, man up.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah. Again, it's. I mean, amazing song. I think it's brilliant, and it's the way you when you first told me about the song before I'd heard it, and you told me what it was for. And I have to say, I was thinking, I've got no idea how he's going to do this, because to write something that is in your vein of cheerful but satirical songs, I thought, how's that going to fit with mental health?
Yeah, I think that's
I thought, brilliant turnaround. I think it's.
Oh, thank you. I think that's probably the impression I give most audience members when I announce the song.
Yeah,
is that sort of what's he gonna do now?
Yeah, something really bleak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but I mean, yeah, and the same thought process went through my head when I was asked to do it. But yeah, it's just one of those that sort of fell in my lap. Really, as you have sometimes when you have these inspiration for songs. It just kind of came out of nowhere, really, that chorus of Bottle It Up. And I was really pleased with that. And it sort of evolved from there as this sort of insecure, very insecure sort of character who's extremely worried about appearing anything but manly. And yeah, I think it's very true of a lot of men. Obviously, it's a very exaggerated version.
More men of my generation than your generation. I think it's changed a lot.
Yeah, I agree. There's been a great movement.
30 odd years. But there's still plenty of that, bottle it up notion going around. There are still people who will say things, just pull yourself together.
Exactly, yeah. And even if it's not vocalized, it's sort of like it's still around as some different form, isn't it? Of it's still ever present. I mean, there's still definitely an issue with young men who feel that they have to hide their emotions, sort of thing.
I think the other thing for me is that, I mean, you often hear the feminists saying that there aren't any good female role models, but I think equally there aren't that many good male role models. I mean, if you look at the sort of blockbustery films, the Daniel Craigs, the Jason Stathams, all those, they're all quiet men, and it's and that I don't think that helps.
No, I agree. Yeah. Yeah, they're all very in control, aren't they? And very self-assured and so much bravado and all that sort of thing.
I think we want to make. I mean, I quite enjoy the odd Bond film, I have to say, but I think I'd rather have more Dead Poets Society personally.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Dead Poets Society is one of those. I've had it on my list to watch forever.
Oh,
and I really do want to watch it.
Fantastic film.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get it done.
Williams was a genius.
I love him.
Yeah, a man with mental. Have you ever seen his Live at the Met show? It's an hour.
I've seen a few bits of his stand-up, but I don't know if I've seen that one.
There's one specific one called Live at the Met. I remember getting it out on VHS many years ago and watching it, and getting to the end and thinking, right, I'm just going to make myself a cup of coffee and watch it again because I laughed so much that I missed half of it. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. But the weird thing is, though, is that some of it he's actually taking the mick out of people who take coke, which of course he was doing vast quantities of at the time. But yeah, good stuff. Yeah, worth a pop, that one. So
I'll give that
I mean,
a try.
since that, and when it's got to be at least 3 years ago that we did that.
That Bottle It Up.
Yeah,
that was last year. The video that we tried to shoot was the very end of 2018. So about almost 2 years ago now. It's almost 2 years ago. But I put out once I'd finished the film, it came out about middle of last year.
So
but yeah, it's
but it was
a good little thing to do.
you've been involved in a few more interesting video projects since then, haven't you?
I have indeed, yeah. I put out some. I like to do a music video every year, especially because my stuff really owes itself to
Oh, absolutely,
visuals. So I love to put out a music video every year, and this year I recorded a song called "Postcard Home" and then put that out as my music video, and it seemed at a very inopportune time given that everything that's happened, because it's about travelers.
Yeah.
And we've got none of them at the minute.
No.
But it wasn't necessarily a choice. Yeah, exactly. They're stranded now, so maybe this is for them. But yeah, it was a song that I recorded probably at the similar time to the time that we were doing that video in 2018, and I always planned to do a music video for it, but it was only this year that I got the time away from touring and things like that to actually sit down and come up with a concept and everything and put it together.
I have to say, I mean, the idea of the gap year and travelling and doing all that sort of stuff is wonderful in many cases. But I have to say that Leslie and I often used to comment on it that when we lived in Italy, if we went to somewhere like Florence or Rome just for the day, and we'd be sort of wandering around, and you see groups of young people sat on the steps of the Duomo or whatever, staring at their phones and using their laptops, and I'm thinking, well, you could be doing that in
anywhere,
Wolverhampton or Chattanooga. It wouldn't make any difference really. And also the other thing is that a lot of the shared experience is shared international experience. So if you go to Bali and spend all your time dancing to rave music or whatever, it's
it's taking you're not fully embracing the culture there, are you?
No,
really?
I don't
You're
think
just
so.
kind of taking the British culture to them, which is
yeah,
it's a bit of a shame. No, it's exactly like you say. People are very distracted by their phones and laptops, and it's almost as much about looking good as it is about enjoying that holiday and enjoying that experience in that country and that culture. It's almost like the kudos of having been to Bali or Indonesia or wherever, and having been
I can remember once
labelled a worldly person.
Screaming internally when we were, because where we lived was quite close to Tuscany, and there were lots of beautiful places to visit. And we were in Montepulciano one day, sitting in the square having a drink, and this group of tourists arrived, and they walked across the square, and there were at least 3 of them who were just holding their cameras in the air and doing this as they walked, and they weren't looking at anything. They were just like, and what do they do with it? What, if you've done that for 3 weeks while traveling around, or a year even, what are you going to do with it?
I don't know. Sometimes they'll never look at the footage again, and then it's just on a hard drive forever.
Exactly, until they change the computer, and then think, oh, I don't need it anymore.
Yeah, and they'll just get rid of it. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm climbing on.
Yeah, it's such a shame. It's such a shame. It's the same thing with the concerts as well. You see so many people with camera phones up in the air. I was listening to, I think it was Noel Gallagher talking about this, about the fact that concerts are so different. When he was performing, there was no one with their camera phones in the air. They were all in the moment, and there's a lack of that these days. Although there are artists that are saying, "Do not bring phones in. We want you all to experience it in the moment." I think Mumford and Sons did it, and a few different modern artists.
I was reading somewhere recently about that. Who was a big name? I can't think who it was now. Such a big name, I can't remember who it was. But a lot of people saying, "Well, don't film."
I think Nick Cave did it as well at some point. Could be wrong.
That seems very likely.
It seems likely, doesn't it? Yeah, given his stuff. Yeah.
So, well, what are you going to do next for us? What would you like to do next? Because you had another video project that you're involved with. There's with quite a high profile one, I seem to recollect.
Yes. Well, I might as well give a shout out to that one before I
go on.
move on. But that one just came out last year as well. That was a charity project that I did with Great Ormond Street Hospital, and they released a song. Well, they collaborated with me on a song that was written. Well, the story of which was written by a patient at the hospital. They were making these animations to sort of bring the kids' stories to life. I ended up working on this one about a meteor and a moon. Lovely little story. It's so inventive for a kid of 9 to have come up with. And they managed to rope in Sir Ian McKellen to play one of the characters, and I played the other character. So he co-starred with me, if you will.
Absolutely, yeah, I'll go for that. Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that was amazing. Obviously, to be.
Did you actually work together in the studio, or were you just done separate times?
Sadly, not. I mean, so I always have to. I should really always preface it with that because I sadly never got to meet him in person, which is a shame because he ended up doing his part. Originally, they wanted James Corden to play my part, and then they sort of settled for me afterwards. And he was unavailable, so I'd written the song for him, and then they said they couldn't find the dates that worked, and then they were going to get Daniel Radcliffe to do it, and then he wasn't available. They even got Harry Styles in the mix, which would have been, for anyone who knows my music, that would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
That would have been fantastic, but he wasn't available either. So they just said, right, okay, Chris, do you want to go in the studio and do it? And I said, yeah, of course, yeah. So I got to record the acting lines and sort of speak as if I was talking to Ian McKellen. So yeah, it was a huge honor, really.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, but we digress because I will intro a slightly different song that's that I just released. That's this music video we were talking about just earlier about traveling millennials.
Brilliant.
And this one's called Postcard Home. I imagine if these traveling millennials were to write home to their folks, I'm sure they'd do it delicately, like in this next song. Dear old people, we don't really think that you understand us. We can't get off on an office that doesn't really speak to us, and we're sorry that everyone thinks we're inherently selfish, when all that we've ever wanted is all that we've ever wanted, tour the world and live our lives in permanent bliss. If you're not into traveling, then you might as well be dead. That's a fact, it's what Columbus would have said. Dear old people, it's not like you had a dream of your own once, and being married with kids isn't what everybody wants. We want hammocks, but we want them inside so we don't get our phones wet. 'Cause we are digital nomads, and we are carving our own path. We can change the world in ways you won't ever get. If all you do is run hotels, or you pilot all our planes, while we meditate and wait for Insta fame. Hashtag Insta fame. Dear old people, we just want to write hypothetical letters and be bohemian artists, making the journey last forever. Life's for living, doing Malibu shots on the back of a hippo, and ski while eating a croissant. Review the tropical restaurants that we only went to 'cause of all the reviews. We want to help wash elephants even if they wash themselves. Most of all, we want to truly find ourselves and to never be like anybody else. Yours sincerely, all the traveling millennials.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
We're talking before about who you liked, sort of currently. What about other people? I tell you who just went through my mind. Randy Newman.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love Randy Newman so much. Yeah. I mean, he really inspired me to get into songwriting, really, because it wasn't until I discovered his stuff that I really got inspired by satirical lyrics, and that set me off on writing more narrative based stuff and more stuff that was taking the mickey. Because until then, I kind of written one or two little bits of songs, one for a ska band that I used to be in, and I really didn't enjoy writing songs that were from my perspective or were sort of your stereotypical love songs and that kind of thing. I don't know, it just it didn't sit right with me for some reason. I didn't feel I was good at that. But as soon as I heard his stuff, I really was very inspired by that you could write songs from a different character's perspective. So yeah, he's always been a big inspiration of mine. I love all his stuff.
I only discovered recently that apparently he comes from the most incredible musical background that I think two or maybe three of his uncles were composers, songwriters.
Yeah.
And his father was the head of music at one of the big Hollywood studios.
Yeah.
So it's in the genes, and he grew up with it, really. So, but I think it's
absolutely, there's so much heritage. I think I can't remember if it's his uncle or his cousin Thomas Newman who's still composing now as well. It could be a cousin or something, but you see his name come up all the time in Hollywood films. And yeah, he's the Newman dynasty is an incredible. It's an incredible musical heritage there. It's amazing. And his uncle, I think Alfred Newman, I've heard him talk about in interviews that he was always the sort of figurehead of the family, and he was the one who sort of won a bunch of Academy Awards back in the day. He wrote loads of stuff for the old sort of golden age of Hollywood. Loads of scores for that.
Are you a lover of the Great American Songbook and the Gershwins and all that?
I am, yeah, definitely, certainly. I love listening to all that old, authentic American songbook stuff. Who is the chap who his name's escaping me now? Putting on the Ritz and all that. The composer for. Because I've listened to a bunch of his stuff before, mainly from hearing Putting on the Ritz. His name will come to me eventually, but I love listening to all that kind of stuff. Really, yeah, I need to explore it more because there must be so much to be borrowed from that.
Absolutely, it's quite interesting because I played in a big band for about 5 years. I think it was 5 or 6 years, and we did a gig every week with it. And obviously, the pad was built up. You know, a lot of that stuff came from that era. Some of it was later, the sort of big band music, but a lot of it was the Great American Songbook.
Yeah.
And
Irving Berlin, I've remembered now.
Of course, yeah. Irving Berlin. I think it was Irving Berlin who only played on the black notes.
Oh yeah, I've heard something like that before.
Yeah, he only played on the black notes, but because they were obviously writing for singers, he had this piano built for him, which had pedals on it, whereby it would move the keyboard up or down into whatever key he wanted. And this would have been, I suppose, the 30s, and it cost him like £14,000.
Right, wow.
Something like that, which is probably the price of New York at that time. You know, it was just a ridiculous sum of money.
Oh,
yes, it was Irving Berlin.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
just but so that he could continue to play the black keys while he was. Yeah. So he could change the key for the singers he was playing with. Yeah. That's crazy. Wow.
I mean, that's just insanely indulgent, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
But they were. I did a thing some years ago with a friend who was a singer, all about that sort of the Great American Songbook, and we called it "Which Came First?" And "Which Came First" was a question put to the writer Sammy Kahn by a journalist. And he said to him, "Well, Sammy, which comes first? Is it the words or the music?" And Sammy Kahn said, "It's the phone call."
It's the
because
phone call.
Because they were all complete breadheads. They really were. And there's lots of fascinating stories about them, about the rivalry between them, and the rivalry between their wives. I mean, bizarre things, but fascinating stuff. But the whole thing about it was that when I first sort of was confronted by this, I thought, I've got this pad in front of me of 400 tunes, and the leader of the band's going to say, "All right, well, number 175." And pull it out, and you think, well, "I've never seen it before. I've never heard it before. I've no idea what it was." But when you start to realise that a lot of them are based around similar structures. You know, a lot of them are based on a 32 bar sequence. So you've got A patterns all the time. You've got others that go A B C. You know, and it starts to give you a sense of. Certainly did for me to give me a sense of structure about how songs actually worked. I mean, even though I'd been playing for a long time before I did that, I'd never kind of thought so much about the structure. I mean, part of the reason I'm doing this now is actually because I got just fascinated by how people
Songs
write.
Yeah. No, I suppose that's why they end up in the songbook as well. Is to some degree is that accessible simplicity that they have inherently that's so captivating in some way that makes them sort of classics, and they end up in the songbook really.
And yet at the same time, some of them are quite complex.
Yeah.
In terms of the how they modulate from the key from the A section to the B section and stuff like that, and but also lots of clever lyrics. I mean, it's beautiful that the fact that the line with every time what's it called? Every time I go, but it's got the line the change from major to minor, which actually happens over a chord change that goes from minor to major. It's stuff like that. Yeah, it's just
that's brilliant.
Think, clever guys, clever guys.
Yeah, when they can weave the music with the lyrics, it's a bit Hallelujah as well, isn't it? With the fourth, the fifth, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If you can weave in the music to match the lyrics, it's really special.
It's an art. It's an art, and it's a science. So what's your next project then? What's your next plan? Have you got any songs that you're already working on? Do you find that if you have a song, if you've got the idea, are you one of those people who says, right, I'll finish that song off, or are you like the most of us, where we've got like bits of paper lying around with lyrics and things?
Yeah. Oh, I'm of the latter. Definitely.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. Because I'll have an idea and I'll put it down in my notes and something, and I might not pick it up till much later, and I'll maybe get a couple of verses into something and then leave it till later as well, and recycle it as well. That's something that I've done a few times. There was this song that I had put out a few years ago now, Selling Out for Christmas it was called, about major pop artists who sell out to do a Christmas single, and that was pieced together from about 3 different songs.
Yeah,
I always kind of remember when those fell into place. It was like a jigsaw, really. Fitting those 3 pieces together was just like a eureka moment. And it can very much be like that. A lot of my stuff is sort of pieced together, or sometimes, I don't know if you're like this as well, Rowland, where I'll finish a song and I'm not so sure about it, even when I finished it, but just the exercise of having finished it feels enough for the time being.
Yes.
And then I'll come back to it and reuse it in some other way. I'll maybe take the lyrics out and redo the lyrics, or I'll take that verse and chorus and put it in somewhere else. So that's all quite fun. The construction side of it.
I mean, I have an example of that today. Actually, I came to a point a few months ago, and I realised my phone was clogging up because there was so much stuff in it, and I think there were 190 video clips in it of me either singing a chorus or recording a line or a chord sequence or something or other. Yeah. So
very relatable that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So many recordings.
Threw all that away, and then today there was a pile of stuff on my desk, and there was some stuff that was already printed out, and some of it was chords scribbled down and some lyrics. And I came across one. I thought, oh, that's quite interesting. I'll have a look at that. And then when I came to the laptop, I discovered I'd already actually typed all the lyrics up, and it had a sequence of chords with it, but it wasn't the sequence of chords that I'd been playing when I'd been sat at my desk playing it. So I looked at the lyrics, and like you, I thought, well, actually, those lyrics, although they've got the same meter, those lyrics will fit with that groove better than they will with that. So I've kind of, it's like an IKEA song kit. I've just sort of strung it all together. But
and it's still magical though when it comes together, and some songs where I fit it all together and I think, well, it could never have been any other way. When you get to the end of it, it's sort of like it sounds perfect the way it is now. and I couldn't imagine taking it to bits and restarting. So yeah, it's really interesting how songs are structured like that. I've this summer during lockdown, I've probably, there's a couple of songs where I've really got the music down. I really like it, but I've rewritten the entire lyrics 3 or 4 times with different concepts, just to see what works and what I'm happy with. And I'll know when I get there. I think I'll know when it feels like, I don't know if you have this as well, but this almost feels like a moment where you're like, okay, this feels like the right set of lyrics now. I certainly pay, obviously, great attention to the lyrics especially, and I want them to feel right.
Yeah, I think there comes a point. I'm the same. I've done a lot of writing over this period, more prose writing than music writing, to be honest. But I tend to write in my writing's quite episodic, and I do I get up usually about 6:30, 7 o'clock and write. That's the first thing I do in the morning. But when I get to the end of it, I can't stop myself doing a big flourish with a pen, because it feels like I've finished that. And it's but there are days when I don't get the flourish because I'm thinking, no, I'm going to change it.
The flourish is the seal of approval almost, or the seal of hard work has taken place.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting about the 6:30 and 7 in the morning as well. That must be the antithesis of most people's, most musicians' late night writing. I hear about all the time. People waking up, being up at 12 a.m. and 1 a.m. writing songs and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got this project that I've been wanting to put together for ages, and I thought, well, this is the time to do it. And I just read something on some site or other, and this one was saying that the good thing to do, get up in the morning, and before you do anything else, just sit down. Well, I have to do it with an essential cup of coffee, and start writing. And even if you haven't got anything in mind, sit yourself down and start writing. And her thing was to set a target of about 1,000 words a day. And I've been writing in a notebook, and I find that I normally write 3 pages, which is about 700-800 words. And I've been doing that quite religiously since beginning of April, certainly.
Wow. Must have several notebooks filled by now.
There's a lot of dense stuff in there.
Yeah.
But that's been quite a good exercise. But it's just the fact of, to be honest with you, Leslie and I wake. If I'm up by 6:30, Leslie will already been up for an hour anyway, because she. In fact, we seem to sleep very little these days. But anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No,
it's
that
quite
routine
a nice
of
way
it.
To do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that routine's good practice, really, to keep you practicing, and sort of that exercise of doing it all the time really helps your writing. I think I've tried that in the past.
I think that's what we're going to say about songwriting, because I don't know if you've ever sort of read anything or seen anything about people like who worked in the Brill building, who'd go into a cubby hole every day, and they'd have a piano or a guitar, and they'd spend all day in there writing a song. And if at the end of the day they had one and they didn't like it, they'd throw it away and start again the following day. And it was very much a production line. And people like, obviously, Carole King, Graham Gouldman, those sort of people, were churning stuff out at that time, and clearly knew what they were doing. But there comes that sort of feeling of if you're there to do it. And in fact, in that instance, I suppose, because you've been paid to do it as well, it's not like as a freelance musician you want to do it, but you don't always do it. Whatever. Yeah. Whereas if you're actually being paid to do it,
financial incentive is there.
Yeah. The financial incentive of not getting paid at the end of the month if they don't like what you're doing. Yeah. So it must be quite a difficult thing to do, but again, it must hone your craft, as it were.
It must do, yeah. I've fallen in and out of love with that sort of exercise, because sometimes it's obviously quite grueling at times, that sort of attitude towards it. And I love to spend, I've heard Leonard Cohen used to spend an awful long time on songs, and I'm probably more of that category of songwriter who will spend several months on piecing a song together, like I was describing earlier, and to just go into a songwriter session in a day and finish one. I have done it once or twice in the past, but I find it quite a struggle to just finish one in a day. I don't know. I mean,
well,
I was going to ask you
in your case. I mean, yours, you've got a narrative to yours. It's not like a lot of the pop songs that I know Carole King would have been writing in the late 50s, early 60s would have been a chorus and two verses.
Yeah.
Then an instrumental break and then repeat the first verse and repeat the chorus ad infinitum, and that's your 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously they're very good at what they do, but it's what you're doing is a much more complex process, I think. Certainly,
it can be. It can be, yeah, definitely. Because it's, I'd just like to hone down those lyrics and make sure they're relatable and sort of accurate as well about what I'm trying to say. So it takes a longer time, but I have done it with music in piecing together a piece of music in a day. But do you find especially when you've been doing this over lockdown, what sort of percentage would you say of your material that you've written so far have you thought, right, oh, that's a keeper there? Or what would you say is the amount that you've kept?
Well, I think in terms of the prose writing, the stuff that's in my notebooks, I think probably there's a good percentage of that that's good. But in terms of music, I've found, and this is the question I was going to ask you as well, to be honest, is that a lot of the people I've spoken to have said that it's because there is no visible end to this situation. Procrastination is usually the best route, because everybody says, well, it doesn't matter, if I do it today, I'll do it tomorrow, or in fact the day after, it doesn't actually matter. Yeah. And there's and I mean, particularly, people like yourself, who are, aligned to do gigs. There's no rush.
Yeah, no, so I've definitely felt a bit of that. Yeah.
Musically, I've not done. Well, I was going to say I've not done as much as I could have done, but again, there's that thing that I was reading about what they call pandemic guilt. Have you come across this?
Yeah, I haven't heard that term, but I've certainly felt
exactly what
guilt.
It means.
Yeah, I've certainly felt it myself, and I've just talked to a few people about it. My girlfriend's always mentioned it to me because I feel I have pandemic guilt sometimes. And she's always telling me, just enjoy your time off, because I feel I put a lot of pressure on myself to work and to write and stuff like that, thinking, oh, I've got all this time. I never have this sort of time, I'm normally someone who's working 24/7, especially with gigs. I'll do like hundreds of gigs a year, so to have all this time just solely to write is it's almost too much, really.
It is,
the pressure's overwhelming. It is.
It's absolutely.
It's just like,
I agree with you 100%. That's why I'm laughing, because it's a ridiculous. Because I actually said.
And also, if I can just mention this as well, I mean, it's people are always saying to me, "Oh my word, you must have so much material at the moment," and that is an overwhelming principle in itself as well, because you think, "Oh, what on earth can I write about if everybody's saying there's so much to write about?" And then it just becomes. You end up sitting there at 6 p.m. in the afternoon thinking like, oh God, I've not written a single thing all day today, but never mind. But,
No, I think that's absolutely true. I just think it's, I think it was Mark Steele who was talking about it in the Eye. I'm a big fan of Mark Steele's writing.
Yeah, I love Mark Steele as well.
And he was just saying the same thing, how everybody's doing things. Because there were loads of reports in the paper, weren't there? There were people that had... written, they've researched the family history and written an 80,000 word novel. One guy built a 15-foot yacht in his lounge. Tom Moore's doing sprints around the garden.
Raising millions.
Raising millions. And it's me and you thinking, nothing.
God damn this lot, yeah.
Exactly.
God damn it. There's a friend of mine who wrote... he's a very good musician too, Al Dickey. Do you know him? He's Manchester-based as well, Alistair Dickey. And he wrote a novella and released an album and recorded the album during lockdown. And I thought,
Flash
bugger you.
Yes.
How have you done all that within that time frame? And
well, Ben Williams, Ben Williams,
Ben Williams is another one, yeah.
He did released 31 songs in the first month.
Yeah.
That was his plan, a song a day.
Yeah, no, that was incredible. I've watched a lot of his stuff as well, and that
Yeah,
was
and it's
he
good.
wrote
It's
some really good stuff
I
during
mean,
that one.
I think he's of the mentality to be able to do that. I think if somebody had said to me at the outset, these people are going to have a go at this, and if Ben Williams had been mentioned, I say, yeah, he'll be the one who definitely will finish it, because he always struck me as being that sort of just being
Determined.
able to, being determined enough to sort of follow the route through. So,
Yeah.
listen, would you like to do us
agree.
one more song?
Yes, I would. Yeah, let's do another song. I've got
Yeah.
so enthralled in our chat there, Roland, that I haven't even thought what I'm going to do next. But I'll tell you what, I'll do. This is I've done some fairly newer stuff just recently, so I'll just on this interview. So I'll do one that's a bit older, because this is a song about the end of the world, which is a bit of positivity.
Yeah.
And it always feels like it's just around the corner. So let's do this one. This is called Apocalypse Prediction.
Yeah.
I've had a premonition, a sneaking superstition that the world is going to end today. And now I've had the vision, I'm on a major mission, letting every single person know. You better tell your friends, you better tell your wife, dump everything you own, don't be thinking twice. Go hiding underground because the end is nigh, 1999. I might have been mistaken, a misinterpretation, didn't have the figures all in line. But you can put your faith in my new recalculation, cause I'm sure I've got it right this time. You better lose yourself, you better turn and run, and guard your food supply with a loaded gun. Then hope you make it through, because the end is nigh in the winter of 2012. 2012. Well, I wouldn't wait for the rapture, for Jesus knocking on your door. Well, he's been gone 2,000 years, and he could be 2,000 more. What if the world had just ended? What if we couldn't even tell? The earth went out 2 hours ago, and now we're all living in hell. You just haven't noticed yet. Apocalypse depiction, humanity's addiction could be ever going on and on. And every new prediction could be a work of fiction, yeah, but nobody can say who's wrong. You better tell your friends, you better tell your wife how much you think of them being in your life. Make every second count, because for all you know, your world could all end right now. Thanks very much.
I thought we should let it hang. Brilliant.
Always
Chris,
nice
it's
to
been
let
an
it hang.
absolute pleasure. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, mate. It was really good to see you again.
Yes,
and hopefully we shall
absolutely.
meet again in person soon.
I hope so. Yeah, I've always enjoyed these talking songs, Roland. Listening
of course
and joining in as well.
This is your second
Yeah.
second appearance as well, isn't it? You were
It is, yeah. I had a great time. It was last year, February, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
a long time ago now, but I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed this as well. It's been great chatting to you.
Good, me too. An absolute pleasure. So best of luck with it all. Keep us posted as to what you're doing, and stay safe.
Thank you, and same to you. I look forward to hearing more some prose at some point when
Yes,
you've
yes.
whittled it down from the
Whittle it
hundreds
down,
of days.
I'll be doing that. Excellent. Cheers,
Cool.
Chris. Look
Thank
after
you.
yourself.
Stay
Cheers,
safe.
mate.
All the best.
That was great. Such a talented man. He really is. I mean, it just amazes me. He remembers the words. I mean, I stumble at at the simplest chorus. But there you go. Mr. Chris Tavener there with some of his wonderful songs and wonderful writing. And that's it from me for this week. Next week, the next couple of weeks are looking quite exciting. Next week, we've got George Borofsky on. Great songwriter, great guitarist. It'll be interesting to see what he's got to talk to us about. And the week after, we've got Rachel Kober, who's joining us from Miami. And she is a American blues singer, songwriter, guitar player, and been nominated for a few Grammys. and we met her in Mississippi 4 years ago, and kept in touch, and she'll be with us. So thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. These are all going onto the YouTube, so you can catch up there. Anyone's that you've missed, and I shall see you next week. And in the meantime, look after yourselves. Cheers.